Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Celeste, and I just wanted to talk about books. Obviously, you saw the title of this video. We're going to be talking about the things that I read in January of 2023. It is February 2nd. You can't even see that. It's February 2nd. And I read... Don't get your hopes up. I read a total of 4 books this month. And the purpose of this video is kind of just to do a quick little wrap up, maybe a couple quick summaries of the books that I read, and also kind of go over what my expectations and my goals are for 2023 and reading. So we'll start with the goals and expectations part. There'll be a timestamp if you want to move ahead to my reviews and stuff. I don't really care. Do what you want. What am I going to do? Come through the screen and choke you out? Maybe. Okay. Well, so first let's get started onto what I'm hoping for 2023. So we're going to backtrack. Okay. We're going back. 2022. My biggest resolution for 2022 was to just read more. I wanted to read at the beginning of the year 12 books. That was my goal. And I surpassed that goal. I ended up reading 28 books, which I am very proud of. I know some people might look at that and be like, girl, I read that in 1 month. Because I saw some people read that in 1 month because I was looking at the January summaries and I felt very inadequate. But that is not what this video is about. And we will get to that. So I was a huge reader as a child and a teenager. I read like book after book. I would spend my weekends piling through like 3 books in a weekend. So a book a day. And it was like my one personality trait. And then I got to college and I just kind of stopped. So I started college in 2016 and I recently graduated from graduate school in 2022. So I just didn't have a lot of time to read between like clubs, extracurriculars, my classes. I was a commuter, so I was driving all the time. And truth be told, reading all of these academic papers really didn't make me want to read for fun. Who wants to fucking sit down and read a book after all they read was like a 20-page study on fucking vocal folds and shit? Not I. But surprisingly, in 2021, when I was reading like not way too much, but it felt like way too many studies in grad school, I was like, you know what, this actually does make me want to read recreationally and for fun again, because I miss reading. I just don't have the brain power. So once I moved into my externships and stuff and I didn't have as much homework, really the only thing I was doing was basically being a therapist for free. I had so much more time to read, and that is where we are. I got really into the book community just as, a way to keep me in check and to help me meet my goals. And I do not regret it. I've had a lot of fun reading and getting back into the reading scene. So that is why a lot of these books, people are like, you just now read that? Like, I got back into the book scene a year ago. So there's a lot of books that I missed. So sorry. But one of my big goals for this year, we're kind of going a little bit more in depth in the reading goal, is to stop comparing myself to other book readers. I don't know how or why or what way the book community has kind of turned into this huge competition, but if you look at my birth chart, I am fire dominant, which means I love competition and I love winning. I'm also a Leo sun, so I really love being number one. And I can't be on number one all the time. Even though it seems like it. That was a joke. I'm sorry. When I saw a lot of these people, I saw a lot of these other book readers and people who are online reading books, and how many books that they read. Like, I saw anywhere from 12 books to 30 books in a month. And I was like, wow, that really makes my 4 books that I read look like a pile of bird shit next to a plate of gold. So I caught myself doing it, or I was comparing myself, and I was really turning over in my head if I wanted to make this video, because I was like, is it gonna be a little embarrassing to be like, I only read 4 books? Maybe, but should book reading be a competition? No, it should not. So that is why I'm making this video, is to keep myself in check and just appreciate what I've done. Be proud of myself for essentially reading a book a week. Pretty good to me, you know. And yeah, just kind of keeping kind of like a virtual library of sorts. So next we'll kind of look into what are my most anticipated books of 2023. This isn't so much books that are going to be released in 2023, but just things that have been on my TBR for a while, and I just haven't gotten around to them. Number one, and this is one that I'm actually halfway through, was I really wanted to read the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Armentrout. I think that's how you say her last name. And I like it so far. We'll talk about the first 2 books further into this video, so I won't go too much in depth. Another series that I've been wanting to read for a while, really ever since I've heard about it, was the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have read her other series like Court of Thorns and Roses and Crescent City, and I was fully ready to read Throne of Glass last year, but I'm going to be really honest, I hate book covers that have real people on them. They look so cringe and awful. And when I saw that they were getting like new covers, I was like, I will wait for those new covers to come out to get those books. So next week, Valentine's Day, those covers hit the shelves, I will go get Throne of Glass and I will go read it. But yeah, I hate being caught in public with an ugly cover. I also am looking forward to hopefully reading Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, I guess. I have Malibu Rising on my bookshelf, and I tried to read it last year, and it just wasn't hitting for me, so I might try it in audiobook form. But I really want to read Daisy Jones and the Six before the show comes out, and obviously everyone and their mother loves The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, so that's on my TBR. Another one is A Little Life. I also have that on my bookshelf. Haven't read it. My friend Natalie lent it to me like 8 months ago, and I just haven't read it. I just haven't. What's one more? Oh, I'm really, really looking forward to finishing Grady Hendrix books. I have read one of his books so far and am currently almost done with Final Girl Support Group, and he just came out with his new book, so I'm really excited to go through all of his books and just read them or listen to them because I'm loving them so far. So yeah, those are my big TBRs. Let me know what yours are, or if you've read any of the things on my TBR and have any thoughts about them, non-spoilery thoughts, obviously. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. There's only 4 books, so this video shouldn't be terribly long unless I start to ramble, which I do have a tendency to do. So first we're going to start with the first book that I read and finished, which is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. We'll start with what I thought I was going to read the book, summary, my thoughts, and what I ended up reading the book. So I initially thought that this book was going to be a solid like 3.5 stars. For me, maybe a 4 if it really exceeded my expectations. And let's say this. I was reading it, and I was like, this feels like a Wattpad book. I don't know what it is. I know what it is, but it feels like a Wattpad book. I grew up reading One Direction fanfic, Five Sauce fanfic, Harry Styles one-shots, BTS fanfic. And you don't think I can clock a Wattpad book? Bitch, I can. I could tell from that plotless book that this was a weekly chapter update, okay? You could tell that the author was like, I have this great idea for like an ice skater and a hockey player. Do I know what's gonna happen? No, we're just going to write as we go, and people will give me their comments and what they want to see. Okay, so let's do a quick little mini summary of what this book is about. So, Icebreaker is a book about our two main characters, Anastasia and Nathan. It's a dual perspective POV, so every other chapter we switch characters. It goes like Anastasia, Nathan, blah, blah. And what we know about Anastasia as we're going into the book is that she is a competitive ice skater who works in a duo with her friend, roommate, partner, ice skating partner, Aaron, who both of them have goals of getting onto Team USA for the Olympics. She has been a competitive ice skater, like, basically her whole life. She is on a full college scholarship to, I think it's called Maple Hills, for ice skating, and, she is, better
talk to her before I do, because I'm hurt her feelings.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. She's kind of a bitch, okay? No, she's supposed to be like this, like, no fucks given, strong, independent, I'm gonna tell you what I think kind of girl. Does it come across that way all the time? No. And then we have Nathan, who is the captain, who is the captain of the hockey team at Maple Hills, and he is basically the person in charge, obviously as captain, to keep the team in check and to make sure the team succeeds. So there happens to be a stupid misunderstanding where hockey teams, I think by prank or like retaliation, the hockey team's ice rink just melts because someone turns off the whatever keeps it cold, and and now they have to share a rink with the ice skaters, who Anastasia is not happy about, and neither is Aaron. That's kind of the start of the story. And as we progress, there's a misunderstanding where Nathan has to kind of step in and be Anastasia's partner. They start to get feelings for each other. They start to date, yada, 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 whatever. That was the best I could do because, like I said, there's literally no plot to this story. I don't even remember half of it. I blacked it out, and it felt like it went on for so long. And, like, I would be halfway through the book, and I would be thinking, this should have ended already. Like, I feel like this should be done. I want to be done. And it took everything within me not to DNF it, because I'm a completionist and I want to finish stuff that I've started. And I'm very happy that I finished it, because now I can give like an honest review of it, but God, was it hard. So the big thing, we're going to get into spoilers. This whole video is going to be spoilers. The big thing is that the main like villain of the story, Aaron, Anastasia's roommate, friend, ice skating partner, he's the stupidest villain I've ever like read. Your like main conflict. So essentially like what happens is, he's just a terrible friend to begin with. It's not even like he's a good friend and then like Nathan comes in the picture and then he turns into a bad friend. He's just terrible to begin with. He fat shames Anastasia. He controls her diet. He constantly tells her that she's like a bad ice skater. There's obviously like a power dynamic between the two of them because he pays for the apartment that she lives in. And he's just like this rich piece of shit, essentially. Like, he is just simply like toxic person, bad. Boo, bad. He is the bad person in the story. Get rid of him. Uh-oh. There is no like morally gray, like, oh my gosh, my friend is having a hard time with me dividing my time between someone. There's no like, I don't want you to leave me for this person because we have spent so much time together. It's none of that. It's just, he's just a dick. And essentially what Aaron does throughout the story is he like breaks his wrist or something, and he says that someone on the hockey team did it, alluding that it's Nathan. And obviously like the hockey team's like, no, we didn't touch him. Like, it was nothing. And Nathan, who is the captain and, you know, has to take responsibility for his team, says, you know what, fine, I did it. He's lying. He didn't do anything. He's like, I did it, whatever. So he has to sit out for however many weeks it takes for Aaron's wrist to heal. I think it's his wrist. I don't even remember. And so in that meantime, Anastasia's like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to practice if Aaron can't skate? Nathan can't play hockey. So boom, they become like pseudo partners. However, this is after Anastasia and Nathan have already started like hooking up. And it happens fairly quickly. The relationship in this book is so weird. We meet Anastasia when she is in like this friends with benefits situation with this other guy named Ryan, who is like way too nonchalant about their relationship. Like, I thought the conflict would come from Ryan and him not like being enough for Anastasia anymore. Like, she wants Nathan, blah, blah, blah. No, he's like, go do what you want. I don't care. I'm going to go date this girl. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. We're best friends. So weird. And he also like disappears halfway through the book. But there was just so much going on that I don't even really remember what happened in this book. Kind of like if I could describe the plot, it would be like nothing happening. Aaron does something. It's whatever. Nothing happening. Aaron does something again. Whatever. End of the book. Because, like, the main climax of the story is when Anastasia and Aaron, after they make up and, like, Anastasia's like, fine, I'll be your ice skating partner after you were a dick to me. We will go do the competition. They do the competition and Aaron, like, completely just throws consent out of the way and just kisses Anastasia at the end of their performance. And Anastasia essentially says, that's it. I quit. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be your partner. And Aaron's like, you can't make it to the skating world without me, blah, blah. I guess that was the main conflict, but we didn't really see the fallout of that. We didn't see what happened with, like, her scholarship after she stopped being a partner, after, what was it like skating with Aaron on the ice after they were done? Like, what happened? I guess it kind of wrapped up because it was like epilogue. Aaron goes to UCLA now, and now I skate for Team USA. It's like, okay, whatever. There's also way too many characters. I don't even know half these people in this book. I don't know who is who. Way too many nicknames too. Anastasia, Stacy, Stas, Ellen, Annie. Like, Jesus Christ, bitch. Just call her Anna. Fuck. I guess if I had to put something positive for this book, it would be that it was an easy read. I liked that the main conflict wasn't, like, a stupid trope between Nathan and Anastasia. They actually had pretty good communication. It wasn't, like, fucking terrible miscommunication trope. It was just like, yeah, your friend's a dick. We gotta deal with it now, I guess. Yeah, this summary is kind of convoluted because I, again, don't even really remember what happened in the book because I don't think anything really happened in the book. So my projected rating of the book was supposed to be about like a 3.5, even to 4 stars if I really liked it. Unfortunately, I rated it a hard 2.5 stars. Yeah, my review was 2.5 stars. That was so fucking boring. Maybe that was a little harsh. I was a little mad that I had spent so much time reading that book. But you can see, like, 24% in. I'm one more Wattpad quote away from DNFing this fucking book. Fuck you, Book Talk. This book just made me so angry. 60% in. It's getting more fun to read, even if there's virtually no plot, just vibes. 70% in. Man, fuck that little fake ass bitch, Aaron. 85%, still no plot, just vibes, still kind of bored. So, that was Icebreaker. What a way to ring in the new year, am I right? Let's get into book number 2. That is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. The rating that I thought I would give this book before reading it was 4 stars. I was giving it a solid 4 stars because I saw that it was pretty highly rated on Goodreads. I am someone that judges a book by the cover, and I was like, this cover looks like a sleigh. To summarize the book, this should be easier because this one actually had a plot. No shade. Little shade. I saw someone like describe this book as Steel Magnolias meets Dracula meets Desperate Housewives, which that is the perfect summary. That's all you need to know, essentially. Again, we're going spoilers. So sorry if you haven't read this book. Just go read it. Just get your butt to the bookstore and get that book. It is about a Southern women's book club in the 90s where they read a bunch of true crime, and they really psych themselves out a lot by reading all of this because they unfortunately don't really have much else to do because they're all housewives. But they're in this like suburb community where this random like handsome stranger just shows up, and a lot of weird shit starts to go down. So our titular character is Patricia Campbell, who is a Southern housewife who has 2 children, Corey and Blue, and her husband Carter, who is like a doctor, a physician, whatever. And she is in this book club where they read true crime books, as I said. For a while, she was a nurse, and she had a lot of ambitions until she met Carter and kind of fell into this like suburban housewife life, which kind of made her feel inadequate, for lack of a better term. She kind of felt like she didn't really have a purpose anymore. And so that's what her book club was for. It gave her something to do. So it's kind of every time that they meet, the women meet, there's a whole bunch of women. Trying to name them all off the top of my head might be a little bit tricky. The ones I remember are like Kitty, Grace, Slick, Marianne. There's one more in there, but I don't remember. And they all meet and they talk about all these fucked up cases. Like they read stuff about the Charles Manson murders. They read stuff about fucking Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy and stuff. And one day, this handsome stranger named James Harris comes into the neighborhood, essentially to kind of take over his aunt's house. And at first, obviously the reader's like, okay, you're a little weird because he can't go out in the sun. And he like looks dead when Patricia first meets him. It's like you don't catch what's going on until it has already happened with this guy. So Patricia sees him and she's initially kind of attracted to him. And she goes to, I think, give a casserole to him because the way that this book starts is so fucking funny. She gets attacked by this dude's aunt. She like goes full on like runner from The Last of Us and like bites off her ear. And then she like dies with this like super strange bite mark. Okay. And Patricia is like, oh my gosh, your aunt just died. Let me bring you a casserole. And he's like, why'd you bring me a casserole? Like my aunt fucking attacked you and tried to kill you. And she's like, I don't know. Like wouldn't you be sad? And so it's a little bit weird where she's like, aren't you sad that your aunt died? And he's like, oh, I mean, yeah, of course I'm sad that my aunt died. I totally know who my aunt is. So he moves in. He moves into the neighborhood. He takes over his aunt's house. And we start to see a lot of weird things occur. Children are going missing. Okay. James can't go out into the sun. Okay. And he like shows up at Patricia and Carter's house all the time. And at first it was like, okay, like he's our neighbor, you know, come for dinner whenever you want. So they have invited him in, and now he's always there. Until one night, Carter is out of town, I think for like a talk or whatever, like a business trip, and some weird shit starts going down. Blue and Corey, Patricia's children, hear stuff on the roof. They think someone's trying to break in. So Patricia's like freaking out. She's trying to like call 911, but the landline is not working. Classic 90s. And shit's going haywire until they hear a Patricia, and it's James Harris. And at first, obviously as the reader, I was like, why are you here? But Patricia and the kids are like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, you've probably scared the dude away. We cannot, like, thank you enough. And so this is when Carter, when he comes back, he's like, you are always welcome in our house. No matter what, you are always welcome. So he always shows up after that for, like, dessert. Like, he always knows when dessert's going on, and he always shows up for ice cream. At this time, too, Carter's mother, Miss Mary, who has, I would assume, probably, like, severe dementia, is staying with them. And her nurse, Mrs. Green, is kind of always around helping out Miss Mary because, truthfully, taking care of someone with severe dementia can be very time-consuming, especially with any behaviors and whatnot. So we have two new characters, Miss Mary and Miss Green. Miss Mary, every time she sees James Harris, she's like, you killed my father. And everyone's like, whoa there. Calm down, Miss Mary. Like, nothing, like, don't get too worked up. Like, he's just a random dude. And obviously Patricia's like, that's a little weird. Like, why is she so, like, caught up on this? And one night there's like a event going, like a dinner going on at Grace's house, and Patricia and Carter go, and it's just Miss Green and Miss Mary. And this scene that I'm about to describe was probably the grossest scene I have ever listened to, because I listened to this on audiobook. So I was driving to work listening to this. A shit ton of rats just infest the house and rip off, like, Miss Green's fingers and shit, and oh my god, it was so gross. And cockroaches, disgusting. Absolutely nasty. If you love that kind of stuff, if you live for that, you will love this book because it was so gross. And this eventually leads to Miss Mary's demise. She passes away after this, you know, after getting fucking eaten alive like cheese by a bunch of rats. And yeah, it was so traumatizing listening to that while reading. Anyways, so we don't really see a lot of Miss Green after this because obviously there's no really a need for a home aide anymore. So time keeps going on. Patricia invites James Harris to the book club. He kind of enjoys it. He didn't really read the book, and he's like, wow, you guys read some really weird shit. And she's like, yep, we do. And then he just never goes back. And eventually things start to fall into place, and you see that there's something big's going on. Children are missing, like I said. There's a lot of weird shit, okay? Patricia starts to get the heebie-jeebies about Mr. James Harris. She's like, you're really weird. You're doing a lot of weird stuff. And Miss Green says that she found your creepiest white van outside of 6 Mile, which is where Miss Green lives. It's kind of the outside of the suburb, supposedly supposed to be like a low-income area. Because when Kitty and Patricia go, they're very, very biased, and they're like, oh, this isn't a good area. And all these kids are like singing this creepy ass song about, you know, this dude's gonna take you and kill you, essentially. And so that's when Miss Green talks about how, you know, she has seen the same white van over and over again around all these places, and all these kids are going missing. There's a 6-year-old that, you know, took his own life, essentially. And there's a lot of weird shit. And Patricia's like, white van? I have seen a white van before. Who has a white van? Turns out it's James Harris. And so she goes in, she starts digging, she finds out that the license plate that Miss Green kind of half wrote down matches up with the license plate that Grace wrote down, and chaos ensues. Patricia goes to the book club, and she's like, hey, I think James Harris is a drug dealer, because she didn't want to come out and be like, he's a predator, he's going after kids. So she calls him a drug dealer. And they initially staged like a police intervention, because Patricia's like, he's got to have, you know, something in his house. There was a housekeeper for his aunt that was never seen again. What if she's dead and in his fucking basement or attic? And so they're like, well, we need the police to verify this, we need them to get a search warrant. So they set up this whole like night where they would talk to the police. Come to find out that someone talked to their fucking husband about it. Well, no, I take that back. The husband, who was like in the police department, talked to all the other husbands who were close with James Harris, because at this point he has integrated his himself into the community like a little parasite. He's like doing all these deals with everyone. He's helping everyone make this money, doing like investments and stuff. And he has become a huge part in the men's like club, essentially. He's like a part of the dudes club. And they have an intervention, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, James, for accusing you of being a drug dealer. Everyone except for Patricia. Patricia was like, no, I know what you're doing. You're being fucking weird. And like everyone starts to see Patricia as crazy. So Patricia catches James Harris, for lack of a better term, and I'm sorry, assaulting a young child in the woods as she's trying to catch his van there. Because she's like, I need the police to see this. I need someone to tell me that I'm not crazy, because everyone else is telling me I'm crazy. And so Miss Green is like the only other person that's like, I support you and I believe you, but you need to help our children. And so she catches him like basically being a vampire. So what he does is, it's so gross. Like, he gets these children like naked, and I'm sorry, this is probably a trigger warning. He gets these children naked and takes blood from their femoral artery, so right in the thigh, with this like creepy little bug thing that comes out of his neck, his throat, sorry, not his neck. I should know that. Comes out of his neck, and it's like a little cockroach, and it's the grossest thing I could ever imagine. Like, ew. Ew. And so Patricia catches him. She's going off the deep end a little bit. She's like, I know that you're this crazy person. I know that you're a fucking vampire. Because she starts looking at all of her Dracula books, and she's like, I know what you are. She's like that dog. I know what you are. And James Harris is essentially just like gaslighting her. He's like, you saw nothing. I did nothing. I didn't do anything. Oh my God. And so when Patricia, Carter, who like supported her at the end of this like event, this was like halfway through the book, is like, oh my gosh, like, we'll get him. Like, I'm so proud of you for putting yourself out there and whatever, comes to start calling her crazy and stuff. Oh my God. Like, the gaslighting and the sexism in this book gets so bad that I felt like I was being gaslit. And like, it leads Patricia to the point where she, without, I think, intentionally doing it, I think she was just overwhelmed with everything going on, takes too many of her pills that Carter gave her, because he's like a psychiatrist. And she overdoses, and Blue finds her just on the floor, and Carter gives her this like ultimatum where he's like, you either drop this whole James Harris thing, or we're done. I'm leaving. So she does. And the book skips to 3 years later. And at this time, like, Patricia and Carter are like doing well. The book club has expanded to like everyone in the community, men and women. It's no longer like the fun little true crime book club. They're just reading like what the men want. And it's like boring ass like biographies and stuff. And essentially Patricia is trying really hard to not hold things against everyone, because the only person who visited her in the hospital after she attempted to take her life was Slick. No one else did. Everyone else was like, whatever. And you can tell that they're all like walking on eggshells around her. James Harris is like a fucking pillar of the community at this point. Her children are still like very resentful towards her for doing that, because they're children. And the book goes on for a little bit where Patricia's just trying to be normal. And then she starts to notice, you know, Blue's getting older. He's a teenager. He's a little rebellious. And he starts to go over to James Harris's house a lot. And she's like, I know I tried to leave this in the past, but I can't. I just can't. And she starts to suspect again. She's like, he's going over way too much. I'm worried that he's going to, kill him like he did all those other kids. So she starts to talk to the book club again, and they're like, Patricia, we cannot do this again. Until Halloween night, where probably one of the most upsetting scenes I have ever read in a horror book happens. And I didn't even read it, I listened to it. And essentially, Slick was having just Halloween with her family when she went upstairs to go to the bathroom, and James Harris comes in and he takes advantage of her, and he takes blood from that same femoral artery, and she calls Patricia, I believe, and Patricia comes over and she takes care of her, and Slick is like, he is something, I don't even know what he is. And so finally Patricia's like, someone else has seen this, someone else knows. At what cost, though? Her probably her best friend's sanity in life. So Slick goes to the hospital. Patricia comes back to Miss Green and she's like, I'm so sorry that I couldn't help the children of your community, but I need help with my children. And this is where we get into this like classism, racism in here, where it's like Miss Green poses a great point where it's like, you didn't do anything for the children of my community, but now that your children are in danger, you want my help? Which I was like, if I was Miss Green, I would not do anything. She is better than I would have been like, you know what, go fuck yourself. But Miss Green does help. She's like, you know what, he's just going to keep going. Because what Patricia brings is the most damning piece of evidence ever. This happens before the Slick thing. I kind of went out of order. Patricia brings this picture that Miss Mary had of her father and the guy that she kept saying killed her father, which was James Harris. Like, literally James Harris was in the picture. And she shows Miss Green this, and she's like, I guess I have to help. So they devise a plan. Miss Green is now I think she still works as a nurse, but she's more so of a cleaning, she's a part of cleaning staff and stuff. So she cleans James Harris' house with this other woman. And this is all before the Slick thing. I totally forgot about this part. I'm so sorry. Miss Green lets Patricia into James Harris' house when he's supposed to be away, because their plan is to find something that will get him criminally charged with whatever. So they're looking. They don't really find anything until Patricia gets to his attic. This whole time, Slick is supposed to meet her there. Slick hasn't shown up. Patricia finds the attic, and in there she finds the old housekeeper of James Harris's aunt. Dead. She's dead. There's like a shit ton of cockroaches in there too. It's really gross. James comes home and he sends the cleaning woman home, and Patricia's like, she tells the other woman, she's like, close the attic. Like, close it. I don't care. Just close it. I know I'm in here. Close it. He doesn't know I'm here. And so she does. And James Harris is like terrifyingly just walking around. He's like, Patricia, I know you're in here. Patricia, come out. And it's so like, the whole time I was listening to it, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna catch her. And he didn't, because something happened. Like, one of the things that he invested in just caught on fire, so he had to leave. He had to book it out of there. So Kitty comes, because Miss Green was like, dude, your friend is fucking stuck in there. So Kitty comes, gets her out. They get out just in time before he gets back. And then that's when the whole Slick thing happens, okay? I'm sorry that I skipped a little bit. Slick showed the picture to James Harris that Miss Mary gave. And she was like, I know what you are. Leave this town, never come back, or I will expose this picture. James Harris got mad, came in, did the thing that he did, and took the picture. So that picture's gone. Slick is in the hospital, and Patricia finds, this is like when Carter is out because he's like a really successful doctor now, where he does a whole bunch of press and whatever. Patricia finds James Harris in her daughter Corey's room. I think she's like 17. She's naked. He is taking blood from that artery in her thigh. Obviously, it's like pretty sexual. And she just is like, get off of her. And she's like beating the shit out of him, trying to get him off. And he like threatens her. He's like, if you don't, Blue starts to come down, and he's like, Mom, what's going on? And he's like, go tell him that everything's fine, or else I'm gonna fucking kill you. And so she does. And he like, it was so fucked up. Like, it was so fucked up for a mom to probably see. And oh my God. So he leaves like a little fucking gremlin with like blood all down him and that weird thing in his mouth. And the next morning, Patricia gets a call, and he's like, Patricia, we need to talk about what happened. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, we need to talk because your husband sucks. He does. He's really fucking awful. Like I said, gaslighter upon like 3,000. He's like, your husband's awful. He doesn't even really know your kids. He's never around. I know your kids. I love your kids like my kids. What happened yesterday shouldn't have happened. I need to talk to you. Basically insinuating, I'm going to replace your husband. So Patricia devises a plan, okay, with the book club. She finally gets them all wrapped in with Slick. They go visit the hospital. She collects the whole book club, and she's like, we are going to take this man down. So the plan, Patricia will go to James Harris's house to talk about whatever. The book club will come in after and essentially kill James Harris because he is a vampire. They have to do a lot. Get it all cleaned up, be done with it. Okay? That's the plan. Patricia goes, okay? She goes and she tries to play it up. She's like wearing her cute dress. She's wearing perfume and makeup, and her hair's all done. She goes and she's like, I want you. I want to be with you. You're right. Carter sucks. Okay? I want you to be the new father of my children. And James Harris is like, bitch, you don't think I know this whole time that you're trying to catch me in something? And he's like, your daughter has maybe a month left. I could kill her at any time. Your son, same too. I could kill both of them. What could you give me to extend their life? And she's like, I will give you me. You have me first. Leave my children alone. He's like, okay, you got a year for both of them. Okay, just from you. But what you're gonna do is we're gonna kill Carter, and you're gonna pretend like we have had this attraction the whole time, and we are a happy family. Okay? She's like, okay, whatever. And he's like, we're going up to the bedroom. This part was so. They go up to the bedroom. He's like, take your clothes off. So she does, because she's like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do? I'm waiting for the book club to get here. And he starts to drink from the artery, the femoral artery. And Patricia is like, I'm a little aroused, but really scared. And she describes it as like this ecstasy-inducing thing that's going on. And she is so caught up in it that she doesn't even realize that the book club has finally arrived. And I think it's Kitty comes in with like a fucking tire iron or something, just bats him in the back of the head, takes a couple of times, and eventually the entire book club takes him down. It's quite a fight. But they finally take him down. Miss Green chops him up in the bathtub, and they put him in these plastic bags, and they go throw him out. They finally get Patricia cleaned up. They clean up the house, and it's over. We kind of, as the book closes, Patricia divorces Carter. That was a good one. Slick dies. Boom. And, yeah, it just kind of, everything starts to fall into place. Miss Green gets her children back. And then it ends on a haunting note of, like, Patricia describing, the dark night, hearing the wind against the window panes, and the occasional rumble of plastic bags, knowing that James Harris probably is not fully dead. What? Bitch, I rated that shit 5 stars. My review on Goodreads is 5 stars. That was so cunt. Oh my God, I loved that book. I loved it. And that is why I'm so excited to read the rest of Grady Hendrix's books. The things that I think could have been done differently. I think in total, now looking back, technically I think I rated this a 4.5. Because I think there would be a lot of different conversations to be had if this was told from Miss Green's perspective, from someone who has constantly been failed by the system. And there was this really powerful quote in the book that I think, if was expanded upon, would have made this book so much better. So the quote is, "Everyone's hungry for our children," she said, and her voice cracked. "The whole world wants to gobble up colored children, and no matter how many it takes, it just licks its lips and wants more." And I truly think that the story would have been a lot more impactful in terms of like social commentary if it was told through the perspective of Miss Green. I really would have appreciated that, and I really would have appreciated more of the book club being a book club and like really honing in on this mystery. It kind of really was just like the Patricia and Miss Green show, whatever. But I would have liked to see more of the book club try and take him down for more of the book. It kind of just felt like in that last third of the book club really was like, okay, we'll take him down. We'll help you. But overall, such a fun read. I really recommend this read. I loved it. I think my notes on it, let's see. At 45%, I said, "I live for these little Southern housewives." At 50%, I said, "I feel like the men in this book are gaslighting me." And then at 60%, I said, "Where's Carter? I want to kick him in the balls." And then I finished the book. So that was my second book of the month, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which I think is the Southern Book Club's guide to just slaying, period. So the next 2 books that I'm going to be talking about, I won't go too much in depth on because I want to do an actual full video on this series. I'm also losing daylight. And that is From Blood and Ash. And these ones are physical books, so I can pull those up. From Blood and Ash and Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So a very, very short summary of this is that it follows our main character, Poppy, who is a quote-unquote maiden, which essentially means she has to be a virgin, she has to be veiled, and she has to do something called the Ascension. So for most of the book, we don't really understand what the Ascension is. We are learning everything through Poppy, and she falls for this hunk of a man named Hawk. I was called him by a different name. Don't want to give any spoilers right now. She falls for her royal guard or whatever, Hawk, and it's very forbidden love, fantasy book. It's a little spicy and stuff like that. I really liked it. I think I rated it 4 stars. 4. And Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I thought was also going to be 4 stars. I think I rated it 4.5. I liked it better than From Blood and Ash. So, I want to do a full book review of the entire series when I finish. So I don't want to get too much in depth in it, but again, spoilers. Castile, everyone. Every time I forget what he looks like, I look at this like fan art of him and I just die every time. Oh my God. Oh, it fills my fantasy heart. Is there a little bit of weirdness going on with like the consent in this first book? Absolutely. But I did have to do a little suspension of disbelief because the character herself liked it and wanted it, and I have to be like, okay, we are blurring a lot of lines, but if the character herself is like, this is what I want, I have to accept it. Okay? That was a really short end of this one. But again, I want to do a full series on this, so I don't want to go too in depth. But yeah, 4 stars, 4.5 stars. Oh, this is a little fucked up. Currently, what I am reading as we're going into February is A Crown of Gilded Bones. I actually started annotating and stuff, so it looks pretty cool. And highlighting, I got cool highlighters and stuff. I really like this book so far. Do I like it as much as the second book? Kinda. But I am about, I think like 70% of the way through, 60. So I'm almost done. I almost made it, and it was almost my 5th book of the month. But oh well, whatever. And the other book that I am listening to at the moment is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I also like it so far. It took a little bit longer for me to get into than Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, but it's starting to really pick up. I'm also, I think, about 60% of the way through for that one. But this video has gone on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so my bad. I'm quite a rambler. No matter how many notes I make, I just talk a lot. So, my bad. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there. Sorry that my last 2 books were like short. Again, I just want to do a full video on those and go into those puppies. When that video comes out, you will know. I think there's like one more. I've heard 2 things. I've heard there's 4 books in the series and there's 6. We'll find out. But yeah, when I finish this series, I will make a video on it. What a month, huh? If you like this video, like it. If you like my videos, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Celeste Reads a Lot, or you can follow me on TikTok. My username is Smellest, Smellest. And yeah, I hope you liked this video. I hope you met all of your reading goals for January, and I hope you only read beautiful books and amazing books that changed your life. So I hope you all have a good day and an amazing February. So bye.